Lauren, an interview popped up recently, and having watched the newest episode of Loki, he's now officially canonically bi in the MCU.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about this interview with Tom Hiddleston you were reading?
Yes. So I love the interviews leading up to this, by the way, because they let a lot of different YouTube channels meet up with the actors for 5-minute brief interviews. And so you got to have a lot of different questions asked by a lot of different people. And one of the things that I loved the most was the people asking Hiddles about Loki being gender fluid, because you could really see that there were people that were that were asking Hiddles, what did you think about learning that Loki was gender fluid or playing a gender fluid character, things like that. And you could tell that they were going for a reaction or any type of thing that they could glom onto to there are some fanboys that, even though he's gender fluid in the comics, are not okay with this. And you could kind of tell that some people's line of questioning was a little bit, not as well intentioned as possible.
Sure.
But what I loved is Hiddle's response, because he's I'm familiar with the character from mythology, and I knew about the character's backstory going in to playing the character initially before I was first cast, so I've kept that in mind the entire time I've played the character.
The whole time?
And I love that, because it makes it impossible for people to go back and be well, Loki was gender fluid until... No, he wasn't. Because the actor knew that he wasn't, the comic books said that he wasn't, and everyone has been under the assumption that he's gender fluid. It's just coming to in the screen now.
Right.
And I there's been a lot of people that have asked me how I feel about Tom Hiddleston playing a character who is gender fluid, because he is, insofar as we know, a cishet male actor. And I have two lines of thought about that. First off, 10 years ago, they weren't going to cast anybody as gender fluid. They weren't. Disney was definitely not. And I understand that sticking with the casting makes sense, but also, guess who else didn't realize they were gender fluid until they played a gender non-conforming character in a movie?
Right.
Me. I think, I don't like assuming other people's gender identity. B, I think that a lot of people are not as cis or het as they would like to think. And
sure.
Do not necessarily think about their identity until they're forced to think about it. So yeah, I don't have any problems with it. If I were recasting the character going forward, I would probably cast a gender fluid actor.
Sure.
Or actress, or, whatever they want to identify as. I think for now I'm okay with this. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a weird spot, because there's a lot of moving parts here, and I think you're 100% right. The obvious, hey, if they decide to shake things up and redo the MCU, they would really have to be careful about a lot of this stuff, especially as they want to be more inclusive going forward. Definitely. And then, as you mentioned, it's also Disney, not known for their inclusivity until they're pushed on it, and even then they're only willing to push it in areas where it won't cost them money. So and that's kind of a cynical take on Disney. I understand that, but they have a track record.
It's not cynical, it's realistic.
I think specifically to a cishet guy playing a gender fluid character, him knowing that going into it that far back, I think,
not having his masculinity be threatened, because so many actors, he was an unknown actor going into a movie that was going to get a lot of attention. So, I mean, that's something that could have had impact on his career, depending on how Disney chose to take the character, too.
Yeah. Well, and I even think back to the early days of the MCU, specifically leading up to 2012 with the Avengers. Hiddleston was the Tumblr god king for a lot of people, and that turned the noses of a lot of what we'll call the proto gatekeeper, proto incelly, proto, before they had titles for what they are now, back when they were just like, I hate Twilight because it's Twilight, and I hate Loki because women love him.
Basically,
and, things like that. So him coming out of all of that and retaining, that level of masculinity and him knowing it and keeping it in mind back before I think a lot of Hollywood specifically and actors in general were considering those kinds of things in that way. I think that speaks volumes to in a perfect world, you'd be able to swap him out, right? Just to make it correct. But maybe the most perfect world is, like you're saying, your experience playing a gender non-conforming character. Maybe that over the next couple years leads him into, hey, yeah, you can still be gender non-conforming and identify masculine. That's totally it's I hate how Rick and Morty keeps coming up on this fucking show, but the whole meme where the dad's leaving the daycare and he's like, I'm leaving, and then the daycare person's like,
allowed.
That was always allowed.
that
was always an option, guys.
Oh, sorry. It's been a while since I've seen that. The first two seasons of that show were really good. The successive seasons, a little less so, but the first two seasons were a banger.
Oh, yeah.
And this really kind of gives me some of those feelings that I have had. One of the things that people are also saying is, there's so much content out there by queer people. Why are you continuing to watch Disney stuff when they are just giving the bare minimum of representation? And it is something that I have thought about a lot. And for a while, I didn't watch any major Disney stuff. But I think the only way to really encourage change in a company like Disney is going to come slow. And the only way to make it happen is to, consume the stuff that isn't quite there yet and be like, hey, this was good. We really like this, but it wasn't quite there yet. Can we have a little bit more? And my hope, especially because the large majority of the discourse that I've seen towards Loki's queerness has been positive.
Yeah.
There's only a really small amount of the demographic that I've seen complaining about it, and tons of people seem to be watching this show based on the numbers. So this really helps prove that you can put an unabashedly queer character on the screen and people are still going to watch the show. And you might have a couple of complainers, but they're not the kind of people that you want around for the barbecue anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I think anyone that would take the time to complain, they could at least placate themselves, and that the MCU hasn't shown it. Yeah. You know what I mean? That it's probably a ways off before anything like that happens. Yeah. And that just I guess I don't understand the need to interject into a character that is known for deception, changing their appearance, and being identifying more with their own inner ego than with any kind of gendered thing. Like
me?
Loki shows up to Earth to take Loki shows up to Earth to take over Earth because he feels like he deserves Earth. He doesn't feel like he's a conquering masculine god that needs to beat the Earth into submission.
And he's pretty effeminate, I would say, in general. Especially by American masculinity standards, he's rather effeminate.
Yeah, I didn't know that I needed Bard Loki in my life, but this episode gave us Bard Loki, yes. So here we are.
Sexy curly-haired Loki. I know that he doesn't like it when his hair is curly, but I do. When the action started to get heavy and his hair started to curl up, I'm like, yes, you're so pretty.
Yeah, with the dress shirt and the rolled sleeves and the caked up variant pants. Oh boy,
my God, that is the bisexual uniform from now on. Holy hell, that man looks so good. There's and then, just being gender fluid myself, there's just a part of me that's gender euphoria is looking like that.
Mm.
Let's move on to the bisexuality, which I think it's hysterical that his gender fluidness was confirmed for his bisexuality.
Yeah.
It was handled immaculately. I really could not have asked for it to be better. And I know some people were like, well, he didn't kiss a dude and then like kiss a girl. I prefer that because classically when you have bisexual characters, the way it is telegraphed to you that they are bisexual is because they are very sexual. And because you see them in bed with a character of the same gender, or coming out of bed with a character of the same gender, or characters of both genders. It's always very sexual when a character is revealed as bisexual. The only character that I can really think of is oh my god, I'm hating myself. Fucking Brooklyn Nine-Nine. What the fuck is her name?
Oh yeah, Rosa? Rosa.
Yeah.
Diaz.
She is handled pretty well, where it's not about like who she's rolling around the covers with.
Yeah.
They made it about love, which is what most bisexuals would say it's about.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you see her in that show dating both genders at different times, and you never see the like, you know, next morning scene or whatever. Although that show overall is pretty tame sexually. I think they recognize that toning that back is helpful for something as wholesome as what they're going for.
Yeah. It's so weird that one of the most wholesome TV shows is also about cops.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of those things that it's an easy thing to write, and so before they even realized that it was an issue, you know what I mean? It's like you get so far down the rabbit hole. It's like, well, we're here.
Yeah,
let's at least show cops what they should look like.
I'm kind of glad that like they outrightly said that the TVA is fascists, pretty much. yeah, but with that word actually too, I thought that was shocking. Yes, the writing on this episode was exceptional. The way the characters was handled was exceptional. The fact that, I mean, it would be so easy to just put the two of them in bed together and do hash it out that way. And they didn't go with any of the easy or cheap. I mean, there were so many opportunities where they could have taken an easy / cheap way out, and they didn't do any of them. And I respect that a lot. Like, I respect having a character admit, yes, I've been with a lot of dudes, I've been with a lot of chicks. Well, some. I've been with some dudes, I've been with some chicks. None of them were for me. Because it's so much about bisexuality is like slut shaming. Sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
And there was no elements of that. I didn't feel slut shamed. I didn't feel demeaned. I felt like, and Kate Herron, she's a bisexual woman herself. Yeah. So I think that helps when you've got somebody directing who knows what they're talking about, who has gone through those conversations. Because, I mean, that's what most of our bisexual experiences look like in day-to-day life.
That exchange of information is like doesn't have to be brought up in any kind of special way either. You know what I mean? Yeah. I like that it was expressed as like almost as if Sylvie would assume it about Loki, or Loki would want people to assume it about him. Like,
which I love.
It's like it's me you're talking about. Like, I'm Loki. It's me you're talking about. Why would men and women not love me? That's crazy to think about the opposite.
Loki's like, look, both men and women and non-binary people are willing to fuck me, and I'm okay with that.
Right. It makes me feel good about myself, and if I know one thing about myself,
I like feeling good about myself.
Right. Tell me more about how smart I am.
Yes. Ooh, tell me, baby, how clever am I? How cunning am I?
Yeah.
I love how cerebral of a character he is too.
Yeah. I also really enjoy that he's almost written as someone else's muse. You know what I mean? Like some passionate artist could meet Loki and want to make him their muse because he's so focused inwardly.
Pretty? Oh, he's so pretty?
Yeah, also pretty, yeah. I mean, he checks all the boxes for a muse. You know, he's cerebral, he's talkative, he's self-indulgent, he's hedonistic, and it's all those things that an artist like wants to observe and then put into their art. Yeah. And he's the most real expressions of those things too, because there's no self-doubt in any of them. Yes. And that's so pure.
I love that. One of the things that I liked is with Sylvie, he had kind of been like, you know what, I'm into hedonism, and she's like, oh, I'm into hedonism too. I'm just like quiet about my hedonism, and I'm like, oh, you're into the fucked up stuff. You're into the real kinky stuff, Sylvie. I get it.
Right.
That's what that means.
One little pop-out thing, I don't know where this will end up. Did you notice that as soon as Sylvie gets into the TVA, she puts her hair up?
Yes! I thought that was so smart.
I didn't...
You can tell women are making this.
Exactly.
That is such a fucking chick move.
See, I never even knew that was a thing to look out for until Birds of Prey came out, and there's literally an entire 45-second segment dedicated to the women looking for a hairband for one of them to put their hair up in the middle of an action scene. Now I'm like, yeah, no, I would be hard to find a dude that would think of adding that into an action scene and it adding to the badassery of the scene. And now I'm seeing it everywhere with female fighting characters, and I'm like, this is awesome
because it's so practical. I mean, let's be real, because my hair is actually short now. It used to be, I'm standing up so camera can see it. That's why there's probably, so it used to be down literally to my ass crack, but it's just a little bit above that. And the first thing I do in any situation that may involve any type of danger is tie my hair back. So it drives me batshit crazy when you see, especially a female character who, this drives me crazy. Spy flick, female character, she's sneaking in someplace, she's got her long hair just down. And I'm like, girl, you know that you were going to sneak around and your hair is down, you're shedding everywhere, your hair is going to get stuck on stuff, it's going to get tangled, it's going to get in your face, It's easy for people to grab, and it's so impractical. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh god, I love it when women write women, because things like that are what girls do in fights. There was a TikTok trend for a long time that was called Girl Fight, and it was basically you know the song Girl Fight?
I don't. But I think I might have seen the trend that you're talking about. Was it all the stunt women cutting together videos? Or am I thinking of something else?
The audio on TikTok goes, it's about to be a girl fight. I don't remember what song it's from. And then the beat drops, and chicks start putting their hair up and everything like that, and to the music. And the whole point is that before girls fight, they get their shit together so they don't have to worry about their hair, and they can just concentrate on beating the shit out of each other. And I love that.
Perfect.